everybody. Happy Sunday again. Wasn't expecting to go live twice, but there was another shooting in Round Rock, Texas last night that I saw as I was preparing for my morning live, and I thought about doing a short on it, but shorts take a lot of time, and there was too much that I wanted to be able to share. So I decided, why not? And I'm glad I did decide to do this live because there was a press conference. It may actually still be live. It started around 7, so we'll have an update at the very end of this live. Hopefully we will not have cat issues like we did earlier. However, I do have a cat near me who is eyeing the computer because she wants attention, and she could have had attention the last several hours. So hopefully we don't have any cats muting the video or anything else tonight. So thanks everybody for being here. I do appreciate it. I'm glad you got a notification, Lisa, because they don't seem to be working so much lately. So we're going to get started. And the first video I have actually is from ABC News. And this is the same girl who we saw earlier who reported on the splash pad mass shooting that happened in Rochester Hills, Michigan. So this was the same morning. As I was going through finding videos and information about this shooting, there was another mass shooting in Massachusetts last night at I don't really understand. I mean, it's like a social media posting. So it'll be on Snapchat, Facebook. It'll just say, hey, come to this place. And it was some type of car meet. And 2 groups got into an altercation. They decided that they were going to use weapons as a means to resolve said disagreement. And I believe two died in that one, several injured. No, I'm getting confused. I don't think anyone died in that one. I believe there were 7 injured. Again, I didn't look at it very closely, but it just seems like this is a pattern that needs to stop. It's never going to stop. It hasn't stopped since Columbine. It hasn't stopped since, I believe it was the University of Texas, way back when. And as much as, although those were school shootings, and it seems like, well, school shootings do still occur, unfortunately, way too much. I feel like humans are getting more brazen and doing it in broad daylight. They're doing it in public. They have no whims about them. There was a case last week, I did a short on it, where this woman they believe she bought this knife from a thrift store. And as she was, wandering around town, she ended up in a supermarket parking lot. She follows a mom and her baby out of the store and proceeds to stab both of them. Like, what possesses someone to engage in such acts? I don't get it. It's just bizarre to me. Hey, Glow, how are you? Hey, Lynn, good to see you again. All right, so let me stop yapping and we'll get to this. So again, this is a Juneteenth event, a festival that was happening last night, a community celebration. And again, there was a disagreement or altercation between two groups, and 2 people lost their lives.
There was another mass shooting overnight, this one in Texas during a Juneteenth event. ABC's Melissa Adon is here now with those details. Melissa, good morning to you.
And Janae, good morning to you. Such devastation over at a Juneteenth celebration. This one happening in Round Rock, Texas. That's just outside of Austin. This is where officials say 2 people were killed, 6 hospitalized, including 2 children. Now, overnight, this is what we're learning from police.
So again, a family event, a celebration. It was a festival. There was music. And now, again, we have multiple people injured, 2 dead.
Police, they're sharing that a deadly fight broke out. Police alleging that at least one suspect took out a gun and fired. Police say multiple victims were then struck by gunfire, including bystanders. Now, 2 people dying from their wounds. The shooting happening at the Old Settlers Park near the concert stage. This was with a packed crowd where the community of Round Rock, Texas was actually hosting their 2nd annual Juneteenth celebration. Now, at this point of the investigation, it is early on, and police just do not know how many shooters were there because all of those suspects at this point are at large. But this morning, we're talking about those 6.
And I'm hoping that with the latest press conference that we'll get to at the end of this live, that they have some idea of who they're looking for, who these suspects are, because last night and this morning, they did not know where these people were. So
People that are hospitalized, officials there saying that they're all facing possible serious injuries, including those 2 children.
We are thinking about them and their families. Melissa Dawn for us. Thank you.
On Saturday.
Okay, so this is the first press conference that law enforcement gave last night. So I have not listened to this, so I'm going to be learning what they say with you. Again, I did some preliminary research into this, but I like learning a lot of things with you so that I have that authentic reaction. But the fact that 2 children were caught in the crossfire, and bystanders, not even people who were involved in this gunfight, just people there enjoying an almost summer night.
Evening, Round Rock was hosting its Juneteenth celebration at Old Settlers Park, located at 1371 Harold's Parkway. At approximately 10:50 p.m., an altercation broke out between 2 groups. During that altercation, someone produced a gun and began to fire. Multiple victims were hit. Officers who were on scene at that concert immediately responded. They immediately began rendering aid to multiple victims. Fire, who was also on scene at the event, immediately responded and also began rendering aid. Multiple victims were transported to local hospitals. Unfortunately, we do have 2 deceased on scene. We do not have a suspect in custody. This is an ongoing investigation. The information I have given is preliminary at this point. I will release deceased information at a later time, along with other victims at a later time. I'd like to thank the police officers and the fire department for their quick response. I have no doubt that their actions of rendering aid to those victims saved lives. They did add tourniquets to those who were bleeding or had gunshot wounds. Officers and fire department also did CPR on our victims. And again, unfortunately, we had 2 that did not make it tonight. It is unfortunate that we're here celebrating a wonderful event and we have a tragedy that happens. My thoughts, my prayers go out to our victims. My condolences go out to the families of the deceased. This time, do we have any questions?
What other actions were taken in a defensive measure by the police to quell the shooting?
So the shooting happened immediately and the suspects took off running. Suspects were not taken into custody. What I do ask is if there's any witnesses that might have video or have witnessed this incident to please notify the Round Rock Police Department. We can be reached at 512-218-5500. Again, that's 512-218-5500.
Were they able to put together a description?
We got multiple descriptions. This was a open area with a lot of people. And so as you can imagine, with the traumatic incident like this, people are going to have different accounts of what happened and different accounts of what that suspect might have looked like. And so this is why it's an ongoing investigation. We're trying to piece that together. And again, if there's anybody that has information, please contact us.
You say it was an altercation between 2 groups, so there were possibly 2 guns, people with guns going back and forth. Is that accurate?
So at this time, we do not know how many shooters there were. That is part of the ongoing investigation that we have right now.
Are you able to release how many were injured?
There were multiple victims taken to hospitals throughout the Round Rock and Austin area. And so we are making sure that we have an accurate count. I do not want to give out any inaccurate information at this time. As soon as the investigation gives me the number of victims, I will release that.
Did you confirming 2 fatalities?
That is correct. 2 people are deceased on scene.
Any ages or anything like that?
I will release identities later.
Just to be clear, none of the injured or fatal shootings were emergency personnel, either on duty or off.
Thank you for that question. So all the victims and the deceased were not emergency personnel or first responders. They were actually folks that were there enjoying the concert. Old Settlers Park is an open field with the
So
stage.
all bystanders.
The shooting did not occur near the stage. It occurred near the vendor area, away from the stage. The 2 victims, I can tell you, were not part of the altercation.
Oh my God.
How big was the crowd at that point?
I'd be giving you an estimate of how big, but it was a pretty large crowd.
How disappointing is it to have an event like this tainted in this manner?
So having an event like this, where we're here to celebrate such an occasion as Juneteenth, and to come together as a community is a terrific, monumental event for us. But then when you have it marred by senseless tragedy as such that happened at Old Settlers Park, it just breaks your heart. It breaks your heart for a family that was coming out to enjoy their evening. And now their life is forever changed as a result of somebody who could care less about somebody else's life.
Amen, sir.
And that's so disappointing. Our goal is to put those folks behind bars. And our goal is to get them put away for life. And we're going to work tirelessly to do that. No stones unturned. I'd like to thank the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, who is out here assisting us. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is out here assisting us. I received phone calls from other agencies that have showed support and asked if we needed help. They knew the magnitude of this event and of this incident, and I can't thank them enough, especially the officers and the firefighters who were there immediately upon the victims being struck that rendered aid. And like I said earlier, I have no doubt their action saved lives tonight.
Status of the park right now, what is your message to the public if someone should choose to, like, this Sunday we're going to come out to the park like we normally do or something like that? What is your message to the public?
So I know Sunday being Father's Day, Old Settlers Park is going to be closed for the duration of the morning. Our goal is to get that back open by later afternoon. So I'd ask anybody that had plans to show up to the park, whether it's for soccer games, baseball games, or anything of that nature, those are all being canceled. So please do not show up or reach out to the organizers and get further times. Anything else?
All right, so I'm just going to pause him there before we get to the next video. And Remy, I agree with you. It's because people can't act right. Innocent people are hurt. Because you have an altercation. And, you know, I said this earlier with, you know, the splash pad mass shooting. Again, this isn't necessarily a mass shooting that was planned, right? I mean, these two individuals probably didn't go to this event saying, oh, we're going to go and get in a fight and then shoot at each other so that we can kill innocent bystanders. But it was still a mass shooting because these two people don't know how to use their words in an appropriate manner. So they resort to using weapons to settle the score. You know, and I had said this earlier, you know, the first thing, you know, people want to do is, I mean, a lot of people still just fight, you know, fist to fist. But in this case, they pull out weapons and start shooting. And two people, they said it was near the vendor area. So here's two people, maybe they're just, you know, hanging out. Maybe they were in line to get something to drink or something to eat. And these two people who can't act right, who can't use their words appropriately, end up killing both of them. And we don't know at this point if those people who were killed are children. We just know that two people lost their lives just having a good time. Hey, Truth, yeah. I'll never understand. You know, as much as we try to understand, it just I don't know. That's just the way a lot of people handle disagreements. You don't agree with me? I'm going to shoot you. Just it makes no sense.
The search.
So this is, I believe this video was from this morning. So this video has two women who were at the celebration and they give their account. The full interview, which is about 17 minutes, the link is in the description of this video if you should want to watch the entirety. But this clip has just a small portion of what they said to kind of give an idea of what the atmosphere was like at that time.
Is still on for those involved in a shooting that left 2 people dead and possibly a dozen injured, including children. And now the FBI is involved. Round Rock police say during the Juneteenth celebration last night, 2 groups got into a fight, which led to the shooting. Austin Travis County EMS confirms they.
Okay, so 2 groups. So I had said individuals. So 2 groups, some kind of beef. They start shooting at each other. And bystanders are killed. Possibly some of those injured were a part of the group, but hopefully, you know, I know we're going to find out more at the later press conference, but it's insane.
They transported 6 victims, all with possibly serious injuries. And Williamson County EMS confirmed they transported another 6 victims. We're told they were all innocent bystanders. It all happened at Old Settle.
Okay, so that answers my question. So none of those involved in those 2 groups were injured or lost their lives. And I'm going to sound snarky saying this, but how convenient. How convenient that none of those irresponsible human beings lost their lives or were injured, but they injured and killed people who had nothing to do with their disagreement.
Settlers Park, and that's where we find KVU's Malia Matsumoto. And Malia, you were able to speak with people who were there during this very scary situation.
Yeah, Darrenisha, it's been a very difficult day today. I've been trying to reach out to many witnesses who were here. And this morning I was able to speak to 2 women who were here when it happened and had to lie on the ground as soon as they heard gunshots. One of them is actually a trauma therapist and is reminding people that if they were here and witnessed what happened, it's okay to get help if they need it. Flashing lights and loud noises, but not for the reason these people wanting to celebrate Juneteenth expected.
I was kind of like in disbelief that this was actually happening.
What started off as a normal day of Juneteenth celebrations in Round Rock.
It was just a beautiful day. Like, you saw families there, you saw kids on like scooters, and and it was beautiful.
Had a quick turnaround in the evening.
And all of a sudden, I just hit the ground immediately.
Paige Overland and Letitia Agent were just feet away from the shooting that left 2 dead and multiple others injured.
In a situation, you don't think it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
In the hours after it happened, they've been processing what they went through.
It kind of changed me wanting to go out into crowds like that, because I have grandkids, I have kids, and I just want to be there for them.
And we talked about this a little bit earlier with, in chat, that I think it was Evil Queen Yaya had said, now I have to think about where I go. If you go to a baseball game, you have to have that situational awareness to think, what am I going to do if someone starts shooting? And just like that woman said, she's a grandma, she's a mom. She wants to be there for them. And, it kind of goes along with what the sheriff said in the splash pad incident. You can't live your life in fear. Have that situational awareness, but don't stop living because of what could happen. It is, but it's scary because you don't know, Hey, Aussie girl, tuning in from Adelaide, Australia. Cool town name, Adelaide. So sorry to hear of yet another shooting in your country. It's heartbreaking how often this happens. It's multiple times a day. I mean, this is just, there was 2 yesterday. This one in the evening. We had the splash pad in Michigan late afternoon. There was another one in Massachusetts that I had read about. Again, 2 groups, 2 individuals having an altercation, open fire, people are injured. Yeah, and it was Lisa's comment that I wanted to address, but I wanted to let them finish talking. It seems like bad behavior is now always blamed to be, quote, mental health. No, feeling entitled is not a, quote, mental health issue. It's an anger and selfishness issue. Yes. Entitled. That is one word that I see. Kids not getting their own way. And then they just, they storm out of class. I'm not going to listen to you. Okay. That's your choice. I can't force you to stay here, but you're not learning. You're not educating yourself. So, and in this situation, again, I don't know what the disagreement was. But again, I think and I don't know how old they were. The shooter at the splash pad incident was 42 years old. We don't know at this point how old these offenders are or who they are. It shows, I think, a lot of immaturity as well, because you just immediately grab a gun to settle, to have the last word. It's not okay. Yeah, right, Remy. They just shoot with no direction. It's like the movies, for lack of a better example. Right. They just shoot. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. Situational awareness.
Overland is actually a trauma therapist, but is also still feeling the effects.
It's like survivor remorse or something, where it's like I feel grateful, but then I feel so overwhelmingly sad because people didn't have to lose their lives.
Agree.
She wants to remind everyone who is there that it's okay to get help.
Go see somebody. Don't let this eat you up, because it can. It's okay to talk to somebody too, because trauma can do a number of things on you mentally and physically.
Because this day turned into something none of them could have ever expected. And as for Old Settlers Park here, it's opened back up. There's no police tape surrounding it. We see people at the park over there, actually. And over here, we're seeing some of the food trucks still packing up from last night and the weekend. And behind us, there were some other vendors that were packing up here from the stage. Live in Round Rock, Malia Masamoto, KV News.
Okay, so this brings us to the latest press conference. So let me just zoom to where they begin. Actually, let's see. So 24. Okay, so it's about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. All right, and again, this is Round Rock, Texas, where there was an altercation between two groups. Said groups decided to start shooting, and 2 people have lost their lives, several others injured, all innocent bystanders. Suspect unknown as of this point. And I apologize, there is no closed caption.
Everybody good?
Chief, I just gotta get yours.
Although, give me 1 second. Let me just refresh because nope, still no closed
Might
caption.
stay here on the podium. Pretty good.
Chief, I just gotta get yours. I gotta get this real quick. I'm just gonna hold it.
All right, good evening. I'm gonna start with my name. It's Allen, A-L-L-E-N, last name Banks, B-A-N-K-S, Police Chief, Round Rock. So I appreciate your patience. Tonight, we want to be able to give an update in regards to the shooting that occurred at Old Settlers Park last night in reference to the Juneteenth celebration. I gave an earlier press briefing. I did not have a description, or at least an accurate description of the person that we were looking for. Tonight, we'll give that description. We are looking for a black male, 5'7", thin build, approximately 19, 20 years of age, with short dreads, and he was last seen wearing a white hoodie.
So just one
We ask that if anybody has any information or comes in contact with the subject, to please notify us immediately. Do not approach, as we believe the subject is armed and is dangerous. ATF is offering a reward of up to $5,000 for the successful arrest of this subject. I also want to release how many subjects went to the hospital. We had 14 victims that were transported to area hospitals.
Jesus.
As of this press briefing, most of those victims have been released from the hospital. The remaining victims are in stable condition and are expected to be released anytime within the next day or so. We are thankful that there were not more serious injuries with those victims, as the park was crowded during this Juneteenth celebration. We very well could have been facing much more casualties. As a tragedy as it was that we lost 2, we're very disappointed. We're very angry of these events. This is the 16th year of this Juneteenth event here in the city of Round Rock. And for someone to destroy that peace and destroy the celebration in just an instant angers me. But I could tell you, Round Rock is a strong city, strong community, and we're going to hang together. We will get through this. Our prayers go out to the families of our victims. Our condolences go out to the families of the deceased. I am not going to release the names of our deceased tonight. I will release those tomorrow. I currently have detectives at the families' houses right now speaking with them.
Oh.
So out of respect for those families, I will not release any identifying information on the 2 deceased victims. I have Mayor Craig Morgan with me here tonight. He's going to give a few words, and then I'll finish up with any questions that you may have. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Craig Morgan, Mayor of Round Rock, CraigMorgan. Our hearts are broken by last night's tragic events. We grieve with the families who have lost loved ones and stand with those who were injured. We are here for you. I want to recognize our first responders. My ultimate gratitude goes to the brave men and women of our police and fire departments, including our dispatchers. Their swift actions saved lives and brought calm to the chaos. I also want to support our Parks and Rec department. Our thoughts are with our Parks and Rec department. They work tirelessly, constantly throughout the year to create joyful events for our community. We stand with them as they process and recover from this tragic event. As we know, we have crisis support resources. If you need support, please reach out. The Round Rock Fire Department's crisis response unit is here for you. You can call our team from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. this week at 512-218-5501. Let me repeat that. 512-218-5501. They're ready to talk to you about what you're going through and what you can expect to go through in the coming days. And I'll end with this. Round Rock is a community built on safety, celebration, and unity. Don't think that this city is not unified. We must heal together, and we must not let fear define us, and we won't. Together, we stay committed to our values of creating a safe and welcoming community for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So in regards to the 14 victims that were transported or ended up at the hospital, they ranged from ages 10 to 62. And again, I will not give demographics. I will not give the makeup of those victims. Again, we're very thankful that at this point there are non-life-threatening injuries. All are in stable condition. We will continue to support them, follow up with them, and make sure that they're taken care of through this process of healing. As the mayor said, we as a community will continue to heal, we'll continue to be united, and we'll continue to push forward. Our ultimate goal is to find who did this and make sure that the families get justice. This is a senseless, cowardly act that does not belong in Round Rock. Our detectives have worked tirelessly throughout the night to try to find these subjects, interview after interview after interview, and they have vowed not to get up until there is justice. And me as the chief, I promise you, we're going to continue to work with our partners, state, county, federal agencies to get the subjects or persons involved put behind bars. This time, do you have any questions of me?
Chief, are you looking for any other person aside from the male suspect you described?
So are we looking for any other subjects except for the person we described? Right now, it's an ongoing investigation. We're interviewing many, many witnesses. As you can imagine, this is a park with thousands of people. And so there's a lot of interviewing to go on to find out who did what, how this started, why it started, and why it ended up in a very senseless tragedy. And so anybody that was involved in this incident, we will hold accountable. We are working with the Williamson County District Attorney, and they are very aware of our intent, and they are supplying us with unlimited resources that we need from their office as well.
With respect to the fact that this is an ongoing investigation, this individual that you've described that you're looking for, do you know whether that's the individual who fired the only gunshots, or is there a potential that other people did fire gunshots?
I think based on your statement, this is an ongoing investigation as we continue to gather that evidence throughout the entire park. And then we process that evidence. That will give us a better understanding of exactly what transpired, or at least close to what happened. So as I just stated, anybody that was involved in this incident that needs to be held accountable will be held accountable. If we find that there's additional individuals who were involved in this that took the lives of 2 victims needlessly and senselessly, we will hold them accountable. And that's also for the 14 victims that were struck by gunfire as well.
Is there any information regarding what the groups may have been fighting about?
As I stated earlier, we do not know exactly. That's what the investigation is about. And the investigation, hopefully, based on witnesses and anybody that we might take into custody, will give us a better sense of why this tragedy happened.
This may be you repeating yourself again. You had described them in the previous press conference as 2 groups. Can you explain what that meant? Were they a gang or something like that? Do you happen to know what the affiliation these groups had with one another?
Cannot tell you that at the time. We do know there was 2 separate groups that got into an altercation with each other. This investigation will tell us what it started over, why it happened, and again, holding them responsible and accountable.
And what message do you have to the community? Because you said this person that you're looking for at the time is considered armed and dangerous. Is there a public safety issue at this point?
What I will tell you is if you come across somebody that fits this description, contact the police, dial 911, let us know where he's at and let us approach. Do not approach the subject, allow us to approach. We already know we're looking for somebody who's fired shots in a crowd.
Yeah.
Last thing we want is another victim and another senseless tragedy. So if someone fits that description, we ask that you call us and allow us to come out and handle that situation appropriately.
And just to reiterate, most of the victims that are in the hospital, you don't anticipate that number 2 death toll to go up at all?
We do not anticipate that number to go up. However, if there's self-walk-ins or when we get our final numbers from the hospital, we're also working with Travis County EMS and also Wilco EMS. They did transport, and we're making sure we got the numbers from them, and we're trying to be as accurate as we possibly can.
What kind of injuries were there for the injured?
There were multiple gunshot wounds to different extremities of the body.
So would it be 16 total, 14 victims to the hospital and 2 that were dead?
That is correct.
Would you be able to attest at all to the level of security that was at this festival? We had seen folks on Facebook question whether or not security officers were checking for firearms, things like that. Is that something that you have knowledge of at this moment?
I do, and thank you for that question. So we had an operations plan for Juneteenth. Juneteenth is an open air venue, which means that there is no security points. It is an open park with the stage in it. We had over 22 law enforcement personnel assigned to the event. Fire department and EMS was also assigned to the event itself. And so officers were spread out, volunteers were spread out throughout the park. We also have 2 Skywatch towers, which we had folks that were in the Skywatch tower overseeing the crowd as well. And so we did have security at the event, walking through, interacting with folks. But the bottom line is, regardless of the amount of security that we had somebody who decided to take matters in their own hand and kill 2 people and injure 14 other people senselessly. This isn't about the police. It's
There
about
had to
those
be a
folks
lot
who
of gunshots.
could care less about somebody else's life.
Is there footage from the Sky Towers? I noticed that there's a camera up there. Do you have footage of the scene?
We do not.
Okay.
Do you know about how many people were in attendance there?
I do not. So the question was how many people were in attendance? I do not know how many people were in attendance. And did we have cameras in our Skywatch towers? We did not. We actually had people assigned up there.
Any information on what type of guns were used and how many rounds were shot?
No, sir. Not at this time. I'll take one more question and then we're going to go ahead and conclude.
what challenges were first responders faced with when initially the incident happened?
So the challenges we were faced with, first and foremost, is you had multiple victims that were there. The great part about it is every single one of the law enforcement and firefighters that responded, to include EMS, did a phenomenal job triaging those victims and getting them to the hospital as soon as possible. We had officers putting tourniquets on. We had EMS. We had fire doing CPR on our victims. Priority was life-saving. And I couldn't be more proud of the way we in Round Rock responded to that. And as the mayor mentioned earlier, if there's anybody that was at this event that experienced any type of trauma, he did give a phone number. Please reach out and allow us the opportunity to help you. A lot of people don't see this type of stuff, and it's very tragic, and it lingers. And we want to make sure that our citizens get help through this as well.
Do you have a message for the suspect?
Absolutely. If the question was, do I have a message for the suspect? The message is turn yourself in. Turn yourself in. You're man enough to carry a gun and pull the trigger. Be man enough to step up. Turn yourself in. Let's figure out why you chose to take lives and injure people. Thank y'all.
Great message. Great message. Oops. Pause. And if you haven't seen this audition from America's Got Talent, or actually Britain's Got Talent, her name is Sydney Christmas. Definitely check it out. She did a rendition of Tomorrow from Annie, and it was absolutely amazing. So, again, not a whole lot of information, and I agree with you, Sinner, the description. So I wrote down black male, short dreads. I missed the exact age, but I said approximately 19 years old, white t-shirt. That could be with thousands in attendance. Very vague. Somebody knows who did it. Somebody knows who did it. Somebody knows who those two groups were. And hopefully, like the chief said, they will turn themselves in, or someone else will turn them in, because there's a lot of families being affected right now because of their really bad decision. And having no suspects, the same thing is happening in the shooting in Massachusetts. I don't remember the town exactly. I think it was something like Mantaw, something like that. But that shooting was at a car show, an advertised car show over social media. So they had said Facebook, Snapchat, etc. Multiple people shot, some with life-threatening injuries, and no suspects. No arrests. So someone is going to know something, and hopefully they get these people, because thank you, Sinner, Methwin. I knew it was an M. Mantua. Why am I thinking Mantua? Not sure. But it just angers me that people just can't have fun. You know, the splash pad incident, 5:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday, families having fun, just playing in the kids playing in the water, maybe adults playing in the water, eating ice cream. You know, like the congressman said in that press conference, you had flip-flops and ice cream mixed with blood. If that doesn't put things into perspective for you, never should ice cream and flip-flops be mixed with blood. Just like, you know, this celebration, you know, just a few people had to just ruin lives. So I will definitely, excuse me. One more thing I wrote down. He actually did answer my question about cameras, because I would assume you know, this, you know, a park this big. It is quite a big park. And actually, let me bring that up quick, because I did have that and then I ended up closing the window. But so it's Old Settlers Park, and it's actually quite stunning, at least in the daytime. So I can imagine at night it's also equally as stunning under the lights. So I'm not sure. I'm assuming this is the entire park, so it's a complex. And they had, let me see if they have, oops. Oh look, they have like a water slide park. I was gonna try to see if they had, I guess they don't have like the where the music is, like where the stage would be. But again, like a huge park, gorgeous, and just completely. So my point was, I would assume that a park that large with that many venues would have cameras. Possibly not. I think every establishment should have cameras at this point, because you never know what can happen. You never know when you're going to need that footage to help put the bad guys behind bars. The other thing I had written down was the chief had said, one of the reporters had asked about injuries, and he had said they were all non-life-threatening injuries. They're all expected to recover. And I wrote down emotional and psychological trauma, because physically they may heal. You know, they're going to survive. But emotionally and psychologically, the trauma that these individuals experienced has got to be exponential. So I'm glad that in both these situations, they're pointing out the importance of, you know, counseling centers that are available, other mental health services that they have for those that may need to talk to someone. So that's one thing in both incidents, both the splash pad and this Juneteenth festival in Round Rock. Both law enforcement agencies are stressing that if you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. So with that, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I do appreciate it. I will be sure to, actually, there's one more thing I want to show y'all. I am going to do a short on this as well, but this is a video that I saw that updates on some of the victims of the splash pad, and I am going to share it quickly before we go. I just have to remember where I saved it. Let's go to my history. I thought I had it in my watch later, but I don't see it there. What in the world? No, oh, here, this is it, I think. I don't think so. Okay, so maybe I won't share it. I have no idea. I'm in my watch. Like, I legit just watched part of it before I went live. Oh, here, this might, this might, oh, this is it right here. Okay. It wasn't, I thought it had what we know about the victims. That's not, it didn't have that in the title. So I was looking for the wrong thing. Okay, so this was an update an hour ago. So again, this is switching gears to the splash pad mass shooting that occurred yesterday in Rochester Hills, Michigan. And this some of the victims and a little bit of kind of like a summary.
Live from downtown Detroit
Hill splash pad. It has been a full 24 hours since the shooting took place. And tonight we are hearing from the family members of the victims as their long road to recovery gets underway. Thank you for joining us here on Local 4 Plus. We've received several updates from investigators since that shooting took place last night. Let's take a moment to get you caught up on everything we know so far. The shooting happened just after 5 p.m. at the Brooklands Plaza splash pad. According to the sheriff's office, in total, 9 people were shot. The victims range in age from 4 years old to 78 years old. Among them, a mother and her 8-year-old son, who are both in critical condition right now. The alleged shooter has been identified as 42-year-old Michael Nash. He's from Shelby Township. Police say he opened fire with a handgun, shooting 28 times. Police found him at a mobile home park after the shooting. We're told he took his own life. And right now, a vigil is being held to allow the community members to come together and mourn with the families impacted by this tragedy. That's where we find my partner, Will Jones, tonight. Will, can't even begin to imagine the emotions that people are going through as they try to make sense of what's happened.
Pam, it is extremely challenging. We were at Woodside Bible Church in Troy. This prayer vigil got underway at 5 o'clock, and this is in partnership with nearby Kensington Church. We just stepped out for a moment to do this live shot, and the goal with this prayer vigil is to show support for the victims and their loved ones, along with first responders who responded to this tragedy and those who are caring for those injured right now. Earlier today, Rochester Hills Mayor Brian Burnett spoke about how this tragedy is impacting his community. Here's what he had to say.
I've talked to some of the victims' families. One of the victims' was a member of our team. Her husband works for the city. Chatted with them. They had their entire family out at the splash pad. They're healing. They're grateful that the situation wasn't worse. But as I said yesterday, our focus is on, in particular, the one family, the mother and the 2 boys that were shot, particularly the 8-year-old, praying for his speedy and complete recovery.
Mayor Barnett is here. He spoke about 20 minutes ago. He attends this church, and this all came together last minute, as you might expect. This tragedy happened yesterday, and they were unsure about how many people were going to attend this prayer vigil. It is Father's Day, but I can tell you, as people started to file in, they started adding chairs. We're going to have much more on this later, but for now, we're going to go back inside. I'm going to send it back to you, Pam. We're live in Troy. Will Jones, Local 4.
All right, well, thank you. We will see you back here for 11. 2 of the victims injured.
And so this is where this is 2 of the victims. So this isn't the mom and her 2 boys, but there was a husband and wife who the sheriff had stated were shot. And this is a little bit about them.
In the shooting were shielding their own children from the shooter when they were shot. Michaela and Eric Coughlin were at the splash pad with their 2 daughters. The parents were shot 7 times between the 2 of them. They're in the hospital, and according to their GoFundMe, will face a long recovery. Their daughters, ages 2 and 7 months, were unharmed. As we learn more about the victims and what happened.
And so they themselves were shot 7 times. So again, you ask the question, why? Well, and again, you ask why, you won't necessarily get an answer. Why shoot so many rounds? Clearly, we know it's to inflict the most pain and take the most lives, but you know, these 2 parents, I mean, thank goodness their babies weren't injured.
happened, the mental health and well-being of the community is very top of mind. Oakland County officials laid out plans to help anyone who might be struggling in the aftermath of this mass shooting. Priya Mann was in Rochester Hills today with more on the resources that are now available.
Okay, so I am going to stop it there just because I just wanted to show quickly that mom and dad who survived and who, because of them sacrificing themselves, their 2 babies are unscathed. So with that being said, I hope all of you have a great rest of your night. Tomorrow, well, actually, this whole week is supposed to be sweltering here in New York. Tomorrow is supposed to be 87. Tuesday and Wednesday, 95 plus. Thursday, back down to like high 80s. Friday, high 80s. We are under a heat advisory from tomorrow at noon until Thursday. So it's going to be pretty gross here in upstate New York. But thankfully, tomorrow there are no state exams. It is New York State is observing Eid, which is the end of Ramadan. So we go to work, but students do not have state exams. And then Wednesday we have off for Juneteenth. So thanks everybody again for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your night. And until next time, I will see you all on the flip side.